Hello, it's me.
All right. So excuse the lighting in this video. I'm currently snowed in and really bored. So I thought I would just make this video really quick about something that happened to me about a week ago, and it's just been bugging me for a long time. There's this movie called The Graduate, and let me tell you, this movie stinks. It stinks. It's the worst.
The world.
The reason I'm talking about, I know this movie is from 1967, so this movie's older than both of my parents, which is fine. I know about this movie because it's critically acclaimed. People often say it's one of the best movies of all time. It's an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8 out of 10 on IMDb, 77% on Metacritic. 83% of Google users like this movie. Dustin Hoffman was nominated for an Oscar for this film. It's on the 100 greatest movies of all time list on IMDb. People seem to enjoy this film. 7 Academy Awards. This movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. People love this film. You know, it's withstood the test of time. It's on Netflix right now, in case you wanted to see it. But again, this movie sucks, and I'm excited to tell all of you why. So this movie starts out, Dustin Hoffman is a recent college graduate, and he sucks. He's he's the most awkward person. He's at his graduation party, his college graduation party. He seems to be having a good time.
We're all so proud of you. Proud.
Mr. McGuire.
Ben,
Mr. McGuire.
come with me for a minute. I want to talk to you.
Associate editor of the college newspaper in his junior year, managing editor in his senior.
This older woman, who apparently is a family friend, approaches him and asks him for a ride home, which immediately, red flag, man. She's trying to get with you.
Oh, I guess this isn't the bathroom, is it? Will you take me home?
What?
My husband took the car. Will you drive me home?
She's like, I insist you drive me home, whatever. And then he does. It's his graduation party. Why would he leave his own party? I don't understand that part whatsoever.
Thank you.
Right.
Will you come in, please?
What?
I'd like you to come in till I get the lights on.
What for?
Maybe that was the thing in the 60s, is that you just did what older people told you to do? Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, he takes her home. She insists he comes inside.
Will you come in, please?
What?
I'd like you to come in till I get the lights on.
What for?
Because I don't feel safe till I get the lights on.
What does she say? She says, I don't like going inside a dark house alone.
Would you mind walking ahead of me to the sun porch? I feel funny about coming into a dark house.
But it's light in there.
Please.
So he said, okay, I guess I'll walk in with you, whatever. Totally oblivious to this. Clearly, he's a virgin, a total dork, and a nerd, and I hate him, and he's annoying. But anyway, he's playing up the whole, he doesn't know what to do in this situation. Does he say no? He's known this lady, this old woman, his whole life, and she's like an old family friend, which, okay, I understand that. You want to be respectful to your parents' friends, that's fine. But you get to a point where you're allowed to say no.
What do you drink?
Please wait till my husband gets home.
Very neurotic. What do you think of me?
There's just like this really awkward back and forth of her forcing him to do all of these things that he doesn't want to do. And she's like, okay, now come upstairs and help me with this thing. And it was like the worst excuse of all time, but she's trying to get him upstairs alone.
Have you ever seen Elaine's portrait?
No,
They had it done last Christmas. Would you like to see it?
very much.
She's already told him at this point that her husband won't be back in several hours or something along those lines. Like, long story short, he goes upstairs with her and like she takes her clothes off, and you know,
Oh, God. Oh, let me out.
during this whole exchange enter like the most famous line, which is
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
which is still often quoted today and used in popular culture, which I have personally seen. But she says, "No, I'm not trying to seduce you, you idiot." And he's like, feels super bad, like way over the top, feels so bad about it that he starts apologizing like too much. You know, it's too much. And again, like she's definitely coming on to him and definitely trying to seduce him. And it's just really kind of awkward to watch. So I don't really know what else to say about it. Like, they go upstairs, she takes all of her clothes off and is like,
Either way, the deers lose, my friends.
let's hook up, you know? And like she's naked. Screen grabs of her naked body, which is kind of odd. I get the point, like he's trying not to look and looks away. Anyway, he gets out of there, runs downstairs, and guess who walks through the front door at this point but the husband of the lady.
Is that Ben's car in front?
Yes, sir.
Walks right through the door. So like hypothetically this were 2018 and this dude just says, "Yeah, let's smash right now. Let's get it." And he starts going at it. This guy walks in literally 2 minutes after he runs out of this room like a little bitch. If I was in this situation, I would have been really uncomfortable. But you know, she's an attractive older woman. Whatever. I get, like, she's a Hollywood actress.
What the heck are you talking about?
And Dustin Hoffman apparently is in no position to turn down the advances of anyone. So fast forward to the next scene. Like, he gets out of there. He drives away. He's at a hotel in town randomly and like calls her. And he said, "I'm at this hotel." She's like, "Oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes." And she shows up and it's like so painfully awkward to watch. Dustin Hoffman, he's the worst, you know? And it's just like, ugh. And it's clear that like this is his first time, but this whole thing where, you know, he's trying to say the right thing and be polite, and she's like, "Dude, just like get over here and get to work, man. Like, stop talking and do this." It's so it's
Can I kiss you?
Sure.
I hate it. But anyway, so like eventually they hook up. The next half hour, like no joke, half hour of this movie is a montage of him doing absolutely nothing by a pool.
Remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone.
Various scenes of him smashing with this older woman.
Do you think we could say a few words to each other first this time?
And like there's this really weird scene, which I guess would be the turning point in the film, where a woman and her husband have this daughter who's roughly the same age as Dustin Hoffman, but is in college. And I don't know why this came up in conversation, but Dustin Hoffman jokingly says, "I will take your daughter out on a date," or something, which is a really weird thing to say too if you're hooking up with a mother of somebody. Obviously, the mother of that child reacted negatively and said, "You will never take my daughter out on a date. You'll never do this."
Well, I guess I'll have to ask her out on a date and find out what the big deal is.
Benjamin, don't you ever take that girl out. Understand that?
Harder, Daddy. What?
And he eventually agreed, but like he got super butthurt about it because he took it as, "I am not good enough to date your daughter. Is that what you're saying?" And she said, "Yeah, obviously.
Well, duh.
You're banging me, her mom. What do you expect?" The scene ends with he was about to leave the hotel room, and then he decided not to. He decided to stay, and then they smash again. It is implied that they smash one more time. And then the next scene is Dustin Hoffman is told by his parents that he needs to ask out the daughter who he just said he wouldn't date. So his parents force him to ask this young college student on a date, unbeknownst to them that he is having an affair with her mother, which, okay, whatever. I can get behind it. I'm still invested in the movie at this point in time. He asks her out because he has to, and then says, well, I promised her mom, who, again, I'm hooking up with, that I wouldn't ask her out. He's forced to, so he said, I'll just make it a bad date. It'll be fine. I'll just make it a really bad date.
Well, duh.
So he takes her to a strip club, which is actually kind of funny.
Sit down.
Up until the daughter, the woman on the date, is having just the worst time. Like, she starts crying and is clearly very uncomfortable and doesn't want to be there. So the scene has this dancer behind the young college student on the date. Let's call her, what is her name? So her name is Elaine, right? Right. So Elaine is really uncomfortable, cries in the middle of the strip club. Dustin Hoffman feels bad and chases her out, which, okay, I understand. You wanted to make it a bad day. You have succeeded. But now, like, he's chasing her around the city. Like, if you were to see this today, this whole situation, you would be concerned for this woman's safety, probably.
Elaine, I'm sorry. Elaine.
Take me home now.
I'm sorry I took you in there.
I think I better go home, please.
Elaine,
Where's the car?
I just want to tell you something.
So he eventually catches up with her. She stops. He apologizes, and then they just start kind of he says something, and they start making out in the road.
No, I couldn't.
But could you try?
No.
Which I still don't understand. It was like, I'm sorry I took you to this strip club. I didn't mean it. Okay. You know, it was just like really awkward. It didn't really make any sense to me. Like, in what scenario would this ever play out like that? But whatever. So they start kissing, and apparently he's super into this girl now. So this movie was friggin' exhausting. He wants to, like, have this serious relationship with Elaine. And her mother, Mrs. Robinson, old lady, is her mom, who he's had sexual relations with. You kind of see where I'm getting at here. So they try to proceed, Elaine and Dustin Hoffman, with their relationship. The mom finds out, obviously, Mrs. Robinson, loses it, and then, like, gets really jealous, sabotages the whole thing. Dustin Hoffman told Elaine at some point that he's having an affair with an older woman, and she's like, "Oh, tell me who?" And he's like, "Oh, I can't. Ha 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 ha. Let's move on to the next subject. LOL." And then eventually she figures it out. She's like, Mrs. Robinson, the older woman, says, "If you keep seeing my daughter, I'm going to tell everyone about us," because obviously that's the only card she can play in this situation. So Dustin Hoffman tries to remedy that situation by running to Elaine as fast as he can to tell her that he's banging his mom.
Benjamin! I'm not dressed yet. Benjamin, I said I wasn't dressed.
That's the solution to this problem. No, Elaine, it's okay. Trust me on this one. The older woman I told you about that I'm having an affair with, it's your mom. So no big deal, right? Like, at least I told you, you know? It's not that big of a problem. So don't freak out that I'm hooking up with your mother. We can be together now. I want it. Let's do this. Boyfriend, girlfriend. The whole mom thing doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter at all. That was the solution to that problem. Whatever, let's move on. So Elaine obviously freaks out. Mrs. Robinson and Mr. Robinson get a divorce. Dustin Hoffman goes on this really short-lived spiral where he's all upset and stuff. At this point, him and Elaine have been on one date, and A few days later, he says, I've been hooking up with your mother. Your mom. Is that okay? No, you idiot. It's not okay. Fast forward to the point where he decides that he wants to marry Elaine. He goes to his parents and says, I'm going to the college where Elaine goes because she's back at school now, and I'm going to marry her. And they're like, oh, congrats. That's good news. Like, our families have been friends for a long time. Which would make sense if Elaine knew about it, but he literally just kind of stalked her to college and was hoping to run into her to change her mind and eventually agree to marry him. Which, again, he has banged her mom several times, and this would never happen. It wouldn't. I'm sorry. People aren't this gross. Anyway, fast forward now. This is another montage of him following Elaine around college, not saying anything, just like checking where she's at during the day, what buses she takes to get to school, where she lives. Really illegal behavior, creepy behavior, and he should be in jail for stalking because he's a fucking creep. Let's be real, okay? Dustin Hoffman should be in jail at the end of The Graduate because he's a weirdo and has been stalking her for a few days. Oh, not to mention, he's also living in the same town that her college is in, so he could have this chance encounter to explain himself and say, oh, what a coincidence. We're on the same bus, and now we can be together. Fucking idiot. Anyway, so he sees her get on the bus. He gets on the bus and says exactly that. Now that I'm here and you're here, we should get married. Right? We're at a point in our relationship where you and I can be together. I only banged your mom like 50 times. It's not that big a deal, okay? Get over it, jeez. Unbeknownst to Dustin Hoffman, Elaine, I guess, has feelings for him after having the worst date of all time and finding out Dustin Hoffman has banged her mom. She confronts him about the elephant in the room, the cougar in the room, if you will. Why did you bang my mom? But during this scene, he finds out that the mom told Mr. Robinson and Elaine that she was raped. She says, I didn't have an affair. I was raped by Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman raped me. Because that's a totally reasonable thing to do, and that's cool. No fucking wonder our society's all fucked in the head. This is such a bizarre film. I can't believe it's so well received. Again, this would never happen in real life. Whatever. Let's move on. So they have this big showdown. Dustin Hoffman and Elaine get in this big argument. Like, why'd you rape my mom? Like, that makes sense. And like, she freaks out, starts screaming, like, not words, just like screaming.
I mean, really, Micah!
Enter fucking dude from Jaws, who is the landlord, Richard Dreyfuss, who says, I don't fucking like you, Dustin Hoffman. You need to get out. I'm kicking you out of this boarding house. Which, thank God, somebody has insight to see that this dude sucks. He's the worst. So Elaine, I guess, eventually takes him back. She shows up in the middle of the night and says, yeah, I guess we can be together. I might marry you. I'll have to think about it. And then there's this montage of him pressuring her into doing it.
Why don't you just drag me off if you want to marry me so much?
Why don't I just drag you off? All right, I will.
She's being resistant, as she should, because, again, he's banged her mom. That's a deal breaker, right? You don't date your mom's hookups, right? Is that just me? Like, I wouldn't date my mom's hookups. Gross, okay? Monkeys out of the bottle, right? It's gross. People shouldn't do that. And if you do that, you're gross. Anyway, no offense. Mr. Robinson eventually pops in to say hello to Dustin Hoffman and to say, get the fuck away from my daughter, which he absolutely should. Probably should have beat his ass, too, for banging his wife. Which, okay, I agree with that. Mr. Robinson was the one character in this movie where I was watching it and was like, yeah, I'm on his side. Dustin Hoffman's a creepy weirdo, dork, virgin nerd. Elaine apparently can't think for herself, and Mrs. Robinson is kind of manipulative in a lot of ways. She's not a very likable character either. The parents show up at Elaine's college, pull her out, and abduct this fraternity guy that she's been kind of seeing in college, drive them to Berkeley, California, so that they can get married. Fast forward to the longest, most obnoxious montage of all time, where they played the same Simon and Garfunkel song for literally, they put it on repeat. It stopped and started, I'm not even joking, 4 separate times during this montage. And the only words you can really make out of it are parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. They say those words 1,000 times, and it is so annoying, and it takes so long. This is the point of the movie where I already didn't like it. But this is the point of the movie where I was genuinely like, why do people enjoy this? I don't get it. It's annoying, and the storyline is weird as hell. I like Simon and Garfunkel. They have the song Mrs. Robinson, which makes sense. The older woman's name is Mrs. Robinson. However, they have this other song called Scarborough Fair, which is going to, if I go to hell, it's going to be playing on an endless loop because it's so fucking terrible. It's so bad. Yeah, you know, no one's going to watch this video, so I'm going to play a little bit of it here. Song stinks, right? That song stinks. I've said enough about Scarborough Fair. Okay, we can move on now. And it takes forever. It felt like an hour, but I'm sure it was only 20 minutes. But it took, it was so bad. Okay, I gotta let it go. He eventually finds where they're getting married. This is another fucking part where he asks for directions to the church. He stops at a gas station and asks the person who works there where this church is. The employee tells him, and then Dustin Hoffman speeds away. 5 minutes later, he runs out of gas. I understand he's in a hurry. He should have filled up at the goddamn gas station like a normal person. Yeah. So he ends up having to run like 3.5 miles to this church. So he gets there, he's all sweaty. He finds them, starts banging on this glass like it's a weird church where he's able to say, Elaine, don't marry this dude. Marry me instead. She looks up, starts screaming his name. Which I think is Ben. I've been calling him Dustin Hoffman the whole time. But she screams Ben at the top of her lungs, and they get in a bus and run away together. Their faces are like, shit, what do we get into? But Dustin Hoffman's face changes from happy to sad first. Her face eventually turns to sad too. You're left with this shot at the end of the film.
Still remains within the sound of silence.
I assume she's realizing that, what have I done? Because this guy sucks. He's the worst. This movie ends with that shot. Dustin Hoffman and Elaine sitting on a bus together, looking pretty miserable, to be honest. To sum all of that up in one sentence is, college graduate bangs older lady, then changes his mind to bang her daughter, right? Like, that's pretty much the film, and then like all the drama associated with that. It's just so bizarre that this movie was like nominated for Best Picture. Dustin Hoffman was nominated for Best Actor, who, by the way, Dustin Hoffman stinks in this film. Like, he sucks at acting.
Hip hip! Boo! Hip hip! Boo! You stink!
But like, if this is how the majority of people acted in the 60s, what in the, like, it's no wonder that beliefs about society and shit are like passed down, and like all of these incorrect assumptions are made because of shit like this. Like, this was a celebrated movie that people still talk about today as one of the best films of all time. Main protagonist of the film is a weirdo stalker who's an idiot and totally unlikable. The whole movie is filled with Dustin Hoffman just being a sensitive little bitch about stuff, and like, this dude just graduated from college. You're an adult at this point. He's acting like a 12-year-old boy the whole film. It's really weird. And like, that just makes it even worse for Mrs. Robinson, the older woman, because it kind of seems like she's manipulating the situation too, and realizes that Dustin Hoffman can't think for himself, so she's going to think for him. Therefore, she's got this little boy toy, if you will, that she bangs whenever she wants behind her husband's back. She's cheating on her husband the whole time too. I forgot to even mention that part. What the hell is happening? These are the worst characters in any movie I've ever seen. Is that the point of the movie? Honestly, I don't know. The first article I said, The Graduate holds up. Written in 2017. So apparently it's still a good movie, but then the rest of the headline is its central character doesn't fare quite as well. No shit, man. Why did it take literally 50 years for someone to talk about this? Because, yeah, I'm just shocked that people, film experts, sat down, watched this movie, and said, everyone did a good job. This is a good story. Nothing about it is weird. Because all of it is weird. Could you imagine how this would go nowadays? Like, you're swiping a Tinder profile. It says, college graduate, 22, cross-country athlete, scholarship winner from a wealthy family, disclaimer, has banged your mom. Would anyone be cool with that? Elaine would never end up with Dustin Hoffman at the end of this movie. Ever. Because that is weird to me. Sorry, like if that's not weird to everyone else, or like the 20 of you that watch this, that's totally fine. Believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to judge you because that's fucked up. Like a mother and daughter sharing sexual partners, huh? That's like fetish stuff. So I'm going to wrap this up. I've been talking a long time about The fucking Graduate, and the movie stinks. That's long story short. This movie fucking stinks. Don't waste your time. I watched it so you don't have to. Yeah, it's supposed to be critically acclaimed. You might see it on Netflix scrolling by. You're like, oh, I've heard good things about The Graduate. It's got good reviews. Why shouldn't I watch that? That'll be fun. Don't, because you'll hate it. I promise you, you'll hate it. It's a bad movie. I'm sorry. Doesn't hold up. Disagreeing with that article I pulled up. Doesn't hold up. Movie stinks. Thank you. Next. All right? Thanks for watching. Goodbye.